What is up, YouTube? Troking here. Welcome back to Draw Phase, and in today's video we're going to do something a little different. Today we are going over the meta in a weekly update. It's a new series that I want to start doing, so once a week we'll go over the official and unofficial tournaments that have been happening for the game and kind of evaluating the best and the worst decks. Usually we're just going to go over the top three. Look at their deck lists and kind of figure out why they are performing so well. But before we get into it, first of all, thank you guys so much. We're almost at 500 subscribers, which means the giveaway is almost there. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. You automatically enter yourself to win a Proving Grounds box set when the game comes out in October. Obviously, we were a month and a half away, a little less now, which is pretty cool. And yeah, thank you guys so much for your support. It's been awesome. I've been having a lot of fun doing the content. And yeah, so let's just get straight into the video. So as of recently, the most recent official tournament happening was not for the Targon speak. I'm sorry, guys. Let's go down here to the Hangzhou Regional Open, where statistically the top three was all, if not, top four was Master Yi, which is pretty cool. And Kaisa didn't even make the cut up until 8. Yeah, it went 8th place. Set going in 5th, and Set also going 6th, and then 7th was Ari. So pretty interesting, different shakeup. Kaisa's been dominating Master Yi, although Master Yi and Kaisa has had a bulk percentage of the representation for the legends in the tournaments, which usually means, of course, like the more decks of each legend that are in there, you know, like I believe Master Yi was around maybe 31% or 28%, right? The odds are they're most likely going to make the top cut just because that's the way statistics works. So let's look at the number one, let's look at the winner of the Hangzhou Regional Open and the deck list. So we're going to go into here. So obviously, you know, he's running Master Yi. So he is running 6 and 6 of the runes, the battlefields. Aspirant's Climb, interesting pick, but, you know, really good because just you want to make the game last a little longer for setup and or bounce back. So that's actually really smart. He's running Sigil of the Storm, most likely to counteract that Kaisa deck, because that's pretty much what the meta is geared towards now. Like, how do I beat Kaisa, right? And the fact that Kaisa has to conquer here and then recycle one of the runes hurts her legend ability, right? It makes a legend ability a little less stronger, probably a little weaker. And then Obelisk of Power at the start of each player's first beginning phase, that player channels 1 rune. So a little bit of ramp in the beginning to make sure you get good setup. Now, this list is actually very interesting and incredibly different to what we've normally been seeing. So basically, they've been tailoring the deck to kind of consistently beat Kaisa. So he's running 1 Master Yi Honed. This is the one where it has ganking and it enters ready. So it's very fast, very mobile. We're in 3 Defies because Defy hits over 65% of the cards in the game that are spells, so that's really strong. Wind Wall is a little too costly, so he's running 3 Defies, 3 Charms to kind of move around anything that's unnecessarily annoying, right? Pull in the Kaisa to a battlefield to ensure its kill, or anything else just to make sure that your opponent doesn't get any tempo. Confront, really cool. So the one thing is that the Kaisa deck, right, it has usually 3 units that accelerate. Darius with its like weird Static Legion ability, Kaisa, and then Thousand-Tailed Watcher, right? So to match that tempo, he put in Confront, which for 2 energy, units you play this turn enter ready. So that's actually and you draw a card. So it's actually really cheap for the effect of what you get, right? It's really good. And I like this card a lot. So that's really important addition to the deck to kind of match up against Kaisa. Nothing too crazy. 3 of those, only running 2 disciplines, which is really interesting. Usually you max out with 3 on this card, but this has been like a bread and butter of anything green, really, just because it's so good in Showdown. So he's running 2 of those. I see another really interesting addition is the Mobilizes. So a little bit of ramp too, which is cool, I guess, to kind of match and mitigate that ability with Kaisa's Legend. So you can just progress, and you are playing a lot of runes, right? So the one thing to look when you're building your decks is like how many root or power are you using, and then I guess that's why he added mobilize instead of seals, because it also has an upside where if you are maxed out on runes, you could draw a card. So very smart addition. 3 meditations, which is for 2 energy, and at reaction speed, there's an additional cost to pay this. You may exhaust a friendly unit. If you do, draw 2, otherwise just draw 1. So you can kind of pick or choose if you have like a readied unit and you don't really want to move it in, or it's just holding on to a battlefield. You can exhaust it and you can draw an extra card. Zonia's is pretty much bread and butter of green. You know, you can, for 2 energy, the next time a friendly unit would die, kill this instead and recall that unit exhausted. It does hold any buffs, right, onto it, so it just gets recalled back to your base. Oh, I see some interesting things. Oh, wow, this was a Dazzling Aurora. Okay, now it makes sense. I didn't see the actual live footage of it. I was busy in real life, so I missed out on it. But Find Your Center, really great card. 3 energy, action speed. If an opponent scores within 3 points of the victory score, this costs 2 less. You draw 1 and channel 1 rune exhausted. Okay, so it's a ramp build with a Dazzling Aurora, which is really interesting. I'm actually kind of surprised that this beat Kaisa, because usually they run gear removal, but sometimes Dazzling Aurora is just so strong. And even though if you remove the gear, right, most of it has to be, most gear removal, especially in red, I believe. Does it have action speed? I have to check up on that. Is usually played on your turn, right? So the one Dazzling Aura will pop off, and sometimes that's good enough just because of what I'm seeing. He's also hard running. How many? Okay, only 1. All right, that's fair. All right, I was about to say that if you ran 3 wind walls, yeah, wind wall, it counters any spell. So, you know, 3 energy, 2 power, high cost, but there's 2 power. That hurts a lot, you know, especially if you're just countering a spell. But sometimes you just need to, you wait and you pick your moment to play the best. Well, it is the best counter in the game. It's one of the 2, and it just counters anything, which is really strong. 1 primal strength. Usually they run more, but sometimes I guess you just need to get that 1 showdown, and then kind of take it from there. So for 4 energy and 1 power, give a unit 7 might this turn. So this really is good because, you know, Kaisa or any other blue deck is really running like smoke screens, right? Thousand Tail Watcher decreases your might as well. Sometimes stupefies is you know, annoying, right? And if you're going against Ari, right, automatically you get -1 if you're moving to a battlefield that they're holding. And also the champion unit gets you -2. So, you know, you kind of want that extra might to make sure that you're going to go on top in the showdown. Since it is a Dazzling Aurora deck, we're running, or he is running, 3 Catalyst of Aeons for 4 energy. Channel 2 runes exhausted. If you couldn't channel 2 runes this way, draw 1. So he's running 3 of those. And then here comes the big dudes, one of which I really, really, really like. So the first one's White Flame Protector for 8 energy and 2 power, 8 might, but when you play it, it gives another unit 8 might. Strong, dude. Because not only are you developing this unit's might on another unit, right, on something else that's already ready, you have to deal with this card if you have to deal, like, your opponent has to deal with this card eventually the next turn, right? 8 might is a lot, right? And it's really hard to. So really, really good tempo, very aggressive play, strong play. Dead Bloom Predator, awesome. You know, for 8 energy, 2 power, it has deflect, which is annoying. Deflect, I think, is the best keyword in the game. For those that don't know, when a unit has deflect on it, opponents must pay a power to choose me with a spell or effect. So that also means units' abilities or anything like that. And then it can also be played to an occupied enemy battlefield. That is really good. So it's fast, right? So it's meant to counteract the aggressiveness of Kaisa, because Kaisa is very reactive, right? They have so many things that accelerate and just can pop onto battlefields. So the fact that they're running this is a very, very, very smart inclusion. And now I'm starting to see, as we're going through the deck list, why this came out on top, because it countered all the benefit, or like it countered all the good things with the Kaisa deck. So really, really cool. Now, the only thing is that this card is vanilla, but I love it so much, dude. Mountain Drake, 9 energy, 10 might, and that's it. That's it. That's it. It's just a 910. There's nothing crazy about it, but it has no power cost, right? And it is a 10 might unit. 10 might is like hard to deal with, especially in Kaisi. Like you need to play Ichthian Rain, you need to Singularity, you need to smoke screen it, and then play Singularity. It's like hard to get rid of because 10 might is like it's like massive, right? And then of course he was running the 3 Dazzling Auroras. So for those that don't know, this card is extremely powerful. Initially, it was very much often seen in sets build, right? Because when Dazzling Aurora, the effect is for 9 energy and 2 power. At the end of your turn, reveal cards from the top of your main deck until you reveal a unit. Play it, ignoring its cost, and recycle the rest. So you guys basically just to start playing things for free. And if you're paying, or if you're playing like high cost units, like in the Mountain Drake, Dead Bloom Predator, even Master Yi. No, Master Yi's a chosen champion, but that's it. Those are all his units that he's playing. He's just playing like more of like a control Aurora deck. Really interesting, and I think because the bulk of the Master Yi's are that tempo, hold, buff your units, has a good early game, but like teeters on the late game a little bit. So I could see why this came out on top, right? If you're running Master Yi, this is not the particular, or if you want to start playing Master Yi, this is not the particular build that they run. But I have videos on that. Please check out my videos on my channel. You know, there's a bunch of deck lists there, and look for the Master Yi hold video. Now going into the sideboard, very interesting as well. So he's running Sabotage, which is one of the best spells in the game. I would say like definitely in the top 10. I haven't really done a tier list for spells yet. But for 1 energy and 1 power, you can choose an opponent. They reveal their hand. Choose a non-unit card from it and recycle that card. So it's not discarded, right? But however, for an energy and power, you get so much information. If you're playing this turn 1, right, you know what they have in their hand, you know what they're setting up, you know their first couple turns, right, which is really good. I preferably play this like on turn 2 or turn 3, especially if they're playing Kaisa, because they start to draw really early in the game, right? Usually if they're moving in with Kaisa, right, they're going to start drawing some stuff. But even turn 1, you're getting information, you know how to react to their hands, for their hand, you know what board state they're going to be creating. So this card is absolutely amazing. Great sideboard. Rune Prison 2, interesting. So we've seen Master Yi start to run this card just because there are instances where they accelerate the Thousand-Tailed Watcher, right? -3 in your units that are onto a battlefield, right? So this stun, actually, because the Thousand-Tailed Watcher is an attacker, will stun the Thousand-Tailed Watcher. No damage. It won't commit any damage onto the showdown, and then it'll move back because it was the attacker. So it slows down the Thousand-Tailed Watcher. So that's really good sideboard card for certain aggressive decks, right? Even if like a Jinx aggro, or you're seeing like because usually Jinx runs Darius, right? And that's a very strong card. You know, with the cleave on the Darius, he's going up to 10 might. Challenge, good sideboard card, maybe for some of those bigger matchups, probably in set, right? Because with challenge, if you're running these big dudes, you know, you're more than likely coming out on top. Especially you can play, was it 8, 9, 10? Yeah, you could potentially play a White Flame Protector, buffing something, you know, your Dead Plume Predator or your Master Yi, or even your Mountain Drake, meaning 18. Then you could challenge and just kind of nuke something on the back end, or at their base, or in the battlefields. Because the reason challenge is so good is because it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be on the battlefield, but it could also target things on your opponent's base. So yeah, good inclusion. Good sideboard card. And then an extra wind wall, I guess. I don't know why you would run an extra wind wall. I think 3 defies, honestly, and 1 wind wall is good enough. However, I guess sometimes in those spell-intensive decks, maybe control Auri or something, you just want to make sure that you're stopping those bigger spells. Singularities are an issue. Also, falling, sorry, Comet and Shooting Star. Really annoying because the fight doesn't touch it. So I guess that's why they add it. So it makes sense. It's just I don't think it's really necessary. Because like more than likely, if you're having to use 2 wind walls then you're usually like kind of behind already. But I don't know. I've never really ran 2 wind walls in my deck before, so maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I'm not too sure. I'll have to play the list. And then of course, I guess to switch in, I guess maybe switching out a Mountain Drake or a White Flame Protector to put in the Orange Volley Bear, which is a really interesting sideboard. So Shield 3 and Tank. When an opponent moves to a battlefield other than mine, draw 1. Okay, so really cool. So if this is on the battlefield, right, and the opponent's just like, nope, I don't want to have to deal with this Volley Bear, getting that card advantage over your opponent is really good. And of course, for 12 energy and 2 power for 10 might, it is a very, very costly card. However, remember, we're not paying those costs because of Dazzling Aurora. So I could see how this build came out on top because it is a surprise. No one usually plays a Master Yi Dazzling Aurora build, but really, really, really cool. Congratulations to the individual who beat Kaisa. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. So going into the unofficial tournament is something I want to see because we got some interesting results with that. If we look here, Meta Report did a unofficial tournament, I believe on TTS. It was Targon's Peak Meta Report, right? This tournament here. By the way, if you guys are interested, definitely hit up Piltover Archive if you're starting to get into the game and you don't know about it. It has all the information. You can build decks. You can upload deck lists onto TTS. It has a tournament information. It has the list of all the cards. It has decks. I'm sorry, like of like many different lists. It is free to use. It is an awesome tool for those people wanting to get into Riftbound. So looking into this unofficial tournament, it happened September 16th, 2025. It was called Targon's Peak Tournament, and number 1 on top is Viktor. Really, really cool. Viktor went 4-0. Misfortune second place went 3-1. Kaisa going down to 3rd place. Really interesting. It also did 3-1. Then we had going to 4-7 Misfortune. We had Jinx with Darius, Viktor, and Master Yi. So I want to look at the top 2 decks, if not just Viktor. So let's see what the Viktor build was, because interesting. Like initially when the game came out, right, a lot of people thought Viktor was going to be the best deck, just because the swarm mechanic, it was the only one that really benefited from it. Grand Stratagem is an extremely powerful card. People were looking at Siphon Power as well, but now people don't even run Siphon Power, and we see less and less of Viktor. However, this deck came out on top, beating not only Master Yi and or Kaisa, but all the other ones, of course. Sorry, I had to take a quick sip of my delicious coffee. So let's look at the deck list. For those that don't know, Viktor has a legend ability, or you pay 1 rune or pay 1 energy. And then you get to recreate one might recruit. He's running 5 order and 7 calm. The battlefields are Targon's Peak. You know, pretty self-explanatory there. When you conquer here, ready 2 runes at the end of this turn. Really strong ability. It lets you react to whatever your opponent is doing. The arena's greatest, which is at the start of each player's first beginning phase, that player gains 1 point. So it kind of accelerates the game a little bit. So especially if you're swarming in and scoring like early points with some recruits, right? So you can go up to 3 very easily on your second turn, because usually if you're going first, then your opponent doesn't really have anything to accelerate that early in the game. So you can easily pop in with some recruits and a Faithful Manufacturer if be. It depends on what he's running. But so it really puts you ahead. Really interesting battlefield. The third battlefield he was running was Obelisk of Power at the start of each turn, first beginning phase. Oh, no, sorry. At the start of each player's first beginning phase, that player channels 1 rune. So if you're going first, you have access to 3 runes, which is really good. He's running 1 Viktor Leader, the Chosen Champion, which at 4 energy and 1 power for 4 might. When another non-recruit unit you control dies, play a 1 might recruit unit token into your base. So when something dies, right, that is not a recruit, you basically generate a dude. Let's see. Let's look into the deck list. So he's running 3 Stupefies, pretty standard. It's really good. At reaction speed, 1 energy, you can give a unit -1 this turn into a minimum of 1 might, and you can also draw a card, so that's awesome. Retreat is interesting, and only a 1 of. I'm curious as to why he's running that. Alright, I guess I can put some insight onto that. Maybe, saving things. But I think he wants to pop it back into his hand, either the Thousand-Tailed Watcher and or the Harnessed Dragon, so that he can replay them and kind of just take care of units. Because if this goes back into your hand, you can accelerate again, -3 everything, and move in. So, okay, so he's probably just running them to either or pop back these 2 units into his hand and then move in with them, which is really good. This list curves out very well. I see some inclusions we haven't seen in a while, and some things that I don't really see played too often. So we'll get into it. Ravenbloom Student, the best 2-drop in the game. 2 energy for 2 might. When you play a spell, give me +1 this turn. So obviously, things like Retreat, Smokescreen, Hidden Blade, Stupefy, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are 4 cards that you could play on your turn. And also Falling Comment, and it increases the might of Ravenbloom Student. The things that this card can do is absolutely crazy. The fact that it's hard for your opponent to calculate how much might this will potentially have is difficult, right? Because the Stupefy not only minuses your opponent, your unit if you're going against Viktor, but it increases Ravenbloom's as well. So it's really hard to calculate if this is holding to a battlefield, what the showdown is actually, how much might this actually going to have during the showdown. Hidden Blade, really good. You can probably more so using this for either big threats, right? Or you can also target your own cards, right? Your own 1 might recruits. So for 2 energy, 1 power, you can hide it for 1 power, which means it goes onto the battlefield face down. At action speed, kill a unit at a battlefield, its controller draws 2. So the benefit of like targeting your 1 might recruit, right? 1 might recruit is a 1 might recruit. If it's scoring a point and holding onto the battlefield, right, and you see a big threat coming in, you can put the Hidden Blade down on there. And if they're moving in with 2 units, by all means, just nuke your own recruit, right, and then draw those 2 cards, get a little bit of card advantage. So very versatile card. Like, it is good removal, giving that advantage to your opponent. By drawing 2 cards, sometimes bad. However, if you're getting rid of a big threat, totally worth it. Smokescreen, incredible reaction speed card for 2 energy and 1 power. Give a unit -4 this turn to a minimum of 1. So this does not only like decrease its might, but it's also like, you have to remember the might is also the health, right? Technically. So yeah, extremely strong. It will determine if a showdown goes in your favor or not. Right, you play this card, more than likely you're using it because you're going to come out on top on the showdown. Really, really, really hard to get around. There's not much you can do because -4 is a lot. You would need 2 disciplines to counteract it, or defy just to defy it. And even then, you're wasting like one of your good removals or one of your good counters. We're also running the Assault Poro. If you have colors that have a Poro, you should more than likely play a Poro. Because Poros are awesome. So it's just like really just solid, a 2 for 2, fair, and then it has an upside with an assault +1, so it's just good, it moves into a battlefield going in for 3. You can't go wrong with that. Soaring Scout, so 2 energy, 1 might, Death Knell, channel 1 rune, exhausted. Yeah, this is like pretty standard in yellow Viktor, seen pretty often. Just being able to ramp. And also triggering, your champion leader's ability is also really good. So not only do you keep your 1 might unit on board, but you also channel 1 rune. Call of the Week, I've been seeing this a lot more often, and I've actually been putting it in like different yellow decks that I've been running, just because, if you're running recruits, sacrificing that 1 recruit just to kill another or opponent's unit is really good. Yes, it is 2 energy and 1 power. You're going to be recycling a rune, but, depending on their board state, depending on what they play, if it is an Aurora deck, it usually should come out on top because Aurora decks generally play 1 big dude after another. And this kind of shuts down that gameplay. So really good inclusion, really good removal, especially for Viktor. Then one card that I saw that is really interesting is Sprite Call. So I guess, so the other option is Sprite Mother, right? For 4 and a power, 3 might unit. and then you get a temporary sprite. However, I guess because of the curve, they added Sprite Call because an action speed it also can be played on your opponent's turn when priority is passed to you, and you can also hide it as well. So it is a pretty much like a surprise. So I guess that's what's happening with the meta right now, guys, right? We're seeing cards that we generally don't see in competitive decks to surprise your opponent, right? Because the way that it's been going on in China with the first two regionals, it was very well. The first one was really cool. The second one was kind of boring, and the third one was a surprise, right? The second tournament was just Kaisa and Master Yi over and over and over again, and then the third official tournament, if you haven't already, there's tons of videos, tons of streams about it. Check it out. There's like really cool decks, like a Garen beat a Kaisa, right? The Teemo deck almost came out on top. It is just really interesting to see the meta shift in the way it has, and I think it's because of cards like these, right? We're adding and seeing cards in the competitive scene that we generally don't see. So Sprite Call, 3 energy, you can hide it, action speed, player ready, 3 Sprite, unit token with temporary. Really cool. So you can, if you're on the battlefield, right, you can actually play this hidden, and then it just goes onto board because you are occupying that battlefield. That's the way the rules work. And yeah, honestly, and also like if a battlefield is open, you play this, you move in, you score a point. Like that's generally why you play this. It's really good. I prefer like Sprite Mother, but I think because of the heavy spells that he's running in, let's see, Mundo, Harness Dragon, and Singularity, he couldn't risk losing that tempo with his runes. So basically this inclusion was just to mitigate some resource management, right? Because if a Sprite Mother 4 and 1 power, it would have been too costly, and it kind of like slows down the deck a little bit. So initially, when the game was released, like, and the cards were being revealed, right? Cruel Patron was like a staple in Viktor, and then it kind of like left for some reason. Now it's back. So I think it's a really strong card. I mean, because of the cost is like only 4 energy with no power cost, and for 6 might, which is like generally very strong. And as additional cost, you just have to kill a friendly unit. So you're going to be popping that recruit, right? And or your temporary sprite, because it's already scored a point, right? And then you could pop this down and sacrifice the sprite because it's going to die anyway. You're not going to get that holding point. So yeah, it's really like aggressive, really great tempo card, right? Great play like in the early to mid game as soon as you have 4 runes. So really cool. And the other thing is, like, don't forget, like, turn 1, you always have something to do. If you brick your hand, right? Remember the ability to just recreate a recruit unit, right? And then next turn, if you have a Cruel Patron in hand, you're starting off with a 6 might unit, which is really strong. Oh, there is Sprite Mother in here. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so there it is. I didn't even see that. Interesting. So all the sprites. Oh, is he running 3 and 3? No, okay, he's running 1 of them and 3 of the Sprite Mother. Yeah, I was really surprised not to see Sprite Mother, but I didn't even see it on the list there. So yeah, Sprite Mother, 4 energy, 1 power, 3 might. It's not only a 3 might unit, it also develops a 3 might unit. Yes, it does have temporary, but it's really good. Yeah, awesome card. There's nothing more to say other than this card is awesome. And if you're running blue, you should generally consider putting it into your list. Getting to the top end of the deck, Falling Comet, strong. So it doesn't get hit by Defy, right? They're going to have to use Wind Wall in order to interact with it or to counter it. For 5 energy at action speed, deal 6 to a unit at a battlefield. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's just dealing with a lot of cards that are out there. It deals with Darius if it's not buffed, or accelerated or legioned ability and all these other things. Yeah, it's just really good, and it's cheap, right? So like with no power cost, it's really good. Going to the next one, for an extra power, or sorry, for an extra energy and 2 power in Singularity. One of the best removals in the game because you get to deal 6 damage to 2 units. Yeah, and it is slow. It does not have an action or reaction, but it's just really strong. Playing 1 card, taking care of 2 cards is just really ridiculous. We're very familiar with Thousand Tailed Watcher, 7 energy, 1 power, 4/7 might. You can accelerate it, and when you play me, give enemy units -3 this turn to a minimum of 1. Really good, really strong, really fast, really counteractive. Like, That card's ridiculous. I'll get into Mundo last because that's a really, really interesting inclusion. We've been seeing more and more Mundo because it's just we've learned it's so big and hard to deal with. Before that, we get into Harness Dragon. Great removal on a stick. Amazing, right? So 8 energy, 2 power for 6 might. When you play me, kill a unit. You can also, what I think he's been doing or has done or did, plays Retreat, right? Harness Dragon comes back to your hand. You can play it again and then kind of just take care of another unit. The last inclusion we're going to talk about is Dr. Mundo Expert. Mundo is a big card, man. This card gets big. Initially, when I saw this card, I was like, I don't think it's going to see much play. And I think a lot of people thought that as well. But honestly, it's been really strong in official and unofficial tournaments. It's really good because not only is it big if it's like late game, right? But it also recycles your card, right? So if you used a lot of things that you kind of want back, so let's just read it. Like for 8 energy and 2 power for 6 might, my might is increased by the number of cards in your trash. At the start of your beginning phase, recycle 3 from your trash. So basically, like it takes stuff from your trash and puts it back to the bottom of your deck. Very good. Like if you're going to the late game, it gets really, really big if you're playing like a lot of cheap things. Looking at the list, we have a lot of spells that you're probably going to be playing throughout the game. You're going to be losing some units. So getting those back into your main deck to kind of like dig for them and play them again is really good. We'll go into his sideboard now. So obviously gear removal for that Dazzling Aurora matchup, really good. More sprite calls, I guess, to go against like late game decks because this is really an aggressive card, right? You can score points really easy and, fight for the battlefield with 3 might with temporary sprites, really good. Leona, interesting sideboard, huh? So Leona in itself is a good card. Without the legend, it doesn't get buffed, but still, when it does attack, it stuns an enemy unit. So I guess for those matchups against like big dudes, or even against a Master Yi matchup, right? Because if they're holding onto a battlefield, it just stuns it, and then you can do some battle tricks so that it doesn't do damage. Because generally, if you move in onto a battlefield, the risk of fighting a Master Yi deck in a showdown is that they're playing disciplines, they're playing on guards, they're playing all these things to buff the units, plus the legend abilities buff. So they get very big in just that one showdown. But if you stun it, then maybe they just don't want to play those cards, right? And then I think you get to the point where either you swarm or you get really big and start removing some things. So I could see that in inclusion against the Master Yi matchup. And then Riptide Rex. I love this card. A lot of people don't. It is pricey, but it does deal 6 damage to a unit at a battlefield. I think, honestly, Harness Dragon is better, but you are playing 2 more energy because it just kills a unit no matter where it is. But sometimes if you are going against more aggressive decks that are playing lower cost units, like maybe in a Jinx or something, sometimes you don't need to play Harness Dragon, right? Paying those 2 extra paying that 2 extra energy, and maybe if you can sideboard it in, like if you know your matchup, and knowing that like those units don't generally have more than 6 might, then you could move it in, then you could switch it out. So that makes sense. That's actually a really good sideboard. So that's it, guys. Those are the 2 top decks this week in the meta. Don't forget to check out Piltover Archive. Really good information. They have like news about what's coming up with tournaments and everything. So really cool tool for those experts and beginner players in Riftbound. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate your support. So yeah, we're going to be doing this like every week now, guys. Just kind of looking at the tournaments, seeing how the meta is shifting, looking at the top decks. I'm so glad right now that it's a little more refreshing, right? Other decks are coming out on top in tournaments. I think it's just we're learning how to play against Kaisa, how to play against Master Yi slowly. And I think we're going to see like a shift when the game comes out, that there are going to be so many different decks that it's going to be a lot more fun than it was watching the second regional or official regional tournament. So I have rambled on enough. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for your support, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.